think. Okay, so Kathleen, thanks for talking with me this morning about our different situations, with you being involved with an artist-run gallery in New York City and I being the managing director of a nonprofit art center in Greenwich, Connecticut. I kind of felt like there might be some crossover in terms of concerns and issues that we deal with respective to our, situations. So what's been going on with you? Like how, tell me a little bit more, because I actually don't know enough about your history with the gallery.
Well, I've actually, First Street Gallery has been around since 1969. It was originally down on First Street in the Lower East Side. And it was started because of all the abstract art coming in and influencing the market. A lot of figurative painters felt that they were being sidelined. Mm-hmm. And they started First Street as a cooperative. We bounced around a couple of times and ended up now in Chelsea. In the 80s, we became also a nonprofit. Mm-hmm. But it is still a member-run gallery, cooperative gallery. And I have been part of it for about 10 years. Mm-hmm. In fact, I submitted work to them, and that's how they saw my work and how I met them. And I was invited to join the gallery. And then several years later, I was asked to join the board. And that is what I've been doing since then. Mm-hmm. And it's been very interesting exposure and learning curve for me, having come from really not any kind of affiliation with any kind of arts organization. So I've learned a lot. And being a nonprofit, as you well know, requires a lot of diligence and a lot of cash sometimes that you don't have. Mm-hmm. We have a loyal membership. We run a variety of open calls. Mm-hmm. Over the course of the year, which hopefully gives artists an opportunity like I had to be introduced to the gallery, to have a chance to show your work and, engage in a way that perhaps wouldn't be available otherwise.
So one of the things that I find and have found about being involved with the nonprofit and a membership-based organization, where you really rely on the members.
We do indeed.
To support your programming, to support any new initiatives that you might want to put out there, to really create opportunities for the members. And I find, I spend a lot of time having to fundraise. I think we're a little bit different than you guys are, because we have a gallery within our overall venue space,
right?
But we are not solely a gallery. We are also a school, and we have, we do outreach for underserved kids in Fairfield County, Connecticut, which is where the Greenwich Art Society is located, in Greenwich in Fairfield County, and so part of the challenge that I find is that sometimes people, and particularly artists who are not involved with the organization, don't seem to understand like where the money comes from.
I agree with you completely. We get, and I'm part of a Facebook group that you're with as well. And I'm always reading these complaints about submission fees.
Yes.
And I wonder how they think the doors of a gallery stay open like ours. We're a nonprofit, we're a cooperative. We have one paid person as our administrator, and that's a new gig. We used to have, it used to be all artist supported, member supported. And we don't take commissions, because that is a stance that had been developed when we went to nonprofit. because we want to give artists an opportunity wherever we can. And so, you know, as you well know, in a commercial gallery, they take, you know, up to sometimes 60%
Yes.
of the sale of the work, which then you have to raise the price of the work
Mhm.
to somehow make it a fair balance for the artists. And it's puzzling to me why artists would push back on the fact that for $40 they can submit some work, and if they're lucky enough to be accepted, they have a well-run first-class location
Mhm.
in Manhattan
Mhm.
for $40 for a month.
Right. Right.
So to me, it doesn't really compute in my head, is they're not really thinking the law down to the baseline.
Mhm.
You know, I understand a lot of artists don't have a lot of money, and
Right.
believe me, I get that,
Mhm.
but we couldn't be open without it.
Right. Likewise, you know, we rely on our membership, who may not all participate in some of our open calls, but they
Right.
still retain their membership for a very, you know, very low priced annual membership fee. You know, they retain their membership, so we rely on the members, whether they're showing artists or not, you know, if they're students, if they're artists, if they're just simply patrons to the organization. But then, you know, when I look at sort of like, you know, I don't have the exact pie chart in my mind, but
Right.
I understand our pie chart. When I look at the amount of money that we actually earn through, you know, membership fees and entry fees, when we have two rather large open calls annually, and they're, you know, they're very, you know, they're very big in terms of the range that we try to encompass as far as where we are calling the artists from. And they are always juried by, you know, this is going to sound really kind of snobby, but they're juried by real curators from
Yeah, well
major
known.
museums, you know, and I feel like the level of quality, you know, that we offer in terms of the curation, in terms of the involvement with someone who really understands how to put a show together, you know, how to select work of a certain quality and put a show together. I feel like that's something that has great value.
Yes.
And I think that, you know, just the opportunity to be looked at, you know, by someone in that capacity, I feel is it can be an important experience for artists. But yet we do get some pushback from people who say, well, you know, you guys are making money with the entry fees. And I'm like, but we're paying everybody who's in, you know, we're paying the juror, and it's not a small amount of money that we pay these people.
Exactly.
You know, they're
and to keep the doors open. I mean, we have to pay rent, and our rent's going up.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
no, I totally
so
understand.
you know, it's a matter of survival for us. I mean,
Mhm.
because our members, the way our rhythm of shows works is that our members are given a solo show opportunity every 2.5, 3 years,
Mhm.
but they are not able to submit their work in any of these open calls. This is,
Mhm.
you know, completely independent of gallery membership.
Right, right.
So yes, you know, we pay the dues, and then we have an opportunity to show work in a really great space.
Right.
And, you know, I challenge artists today to try and get in on that level in a commercial gallery. I mean, it's like two totally different universes.
Exactly, exactly.
And I just don't think that the artists really think about what it is to make this work.
Mhm.
A lot of work, as you well know.
Yes, and a lot of it is uncompensated work,
Oh, totally.
you know, and that's the thing. Like sometimes when I see these objections, which I try not to get involved with, because then
Right.
it could get really like, you know.
No, it kind of, it's annoying to me.
Yeah, yeah. It's like
They obviously don't understand.
Yeah, listen, I mean, there have been opportunities, in my own development and my own career where if I didn't have the money to submit work to someplace, whatever it is, or apply to residencies that actually, attach a fee if you get accepted,
Right.
to pay to be there, I simply don't enter.
Right.
But I don't enter, but then at the same time, I don't bash what these people are trying to do, and I find that particularly with social media, where there's great opportunity to express one's opinion about something, there is that commentary that crops up, I see quite often.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you guys are making money, and how much does the director get paid? And I'm like, I'm even embarrassed to like say it.
Right.
It's like, it's not, it totally misses the point. It
I know.
completely misses the point. And so, and then of course there's that element of, there are standards. There are standards that are actually worth something. And given that now, nowadays, I find, and this is, I'm going to say it, nowadays, everybody and their brother is a curator. Everybody who thinks that they have some artistic experience, or they're artists, or, they're involved in kind of a scene or something, but they have not yet held a real job as a curator, where that is their livelihood, that is their training, that is their experience with other curators, in that particular setting. I think that lowers the standards, within the overall societal structure within this, art market that we are in,
Right.
And because there's no level of like importance, because not everything is great. Not everything is, not everything meets the same standard. Not everyone is good at what they do.
Right.
And I'm sorry, I know that sounds harsh, but, I'm all for, opportunities, and people should, even create their own opportunities. I think that's great. But I think given the particular context that you and I operate in, there has to be some level of, there has to be a certain set of standards.
Well, agreed. I mean, we have quite a few membership inquiries, and people send images of their work, and it's just not up to what our standards are. And the members vote on the applications, so it's not just a small group of people. It's the membership that votes, and heck, we could make a lot more money if we allowed and accepted more members. But if we don't really find that their work is up to the standard that we're expecting, then it seems kind of counterintuitive,
Yes, yeah, and I understand that, which is the reason why when we do our own open calls where people have an opportunity to submit work, that we don't do any. We, meaning within our organization, we don't do any of the judging. That's why
Right.
I'm always pulling in somebody from the outside,
Right.
who doesn't even know often who we are as an
Right.
organization. And we are quite an old organization. This organization was started in 1912 by a group of artists.
Oh, wow, I didn't realize that's such a long history.
It's a long history, and it was started by a group of artists who were associated to the Cobb colony of artists, which was
right.
arm of American Impressionism.
Right.
And these people they were living in Manhattan. This is like in the late 19th century. They had friends. They would vacation in Connecticut, in that area of Connecticut.
Right.
And they were plein air painters, like that was Impressionism, right? So they're going outside with their gear, and they're painting outside, and they get to know each other. And it was only with the encouragement of one of their patrons, a woman named Louisine Havemeyer, who was a very wealthy, her husband owned some kind of a steel mill or steel company or something at the time. They resided in Manhattan, but they also had a summer home in Greenwich. And so she became a collector of some of these artists' works. And she said to them, and this is historically documented in the town records, and with documentation, newspaper articles from that time, that she encouraged them to form a group of self-supporting artists, but who were also teaching artists, because they actually taught privately within their respective studios. So that whole thing started then, and with the patronage of from her and other people, they were able to sustain the organization, and to this day, to this day, it's still
Right.
around,
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's
when
impressive.
we call in a curator from the Met. We just had a show that was curated by.
I know, I heard it was a great show.
It was a beautiful show, and she did a great job. She came up and she did a tour of the show and talked about some of the work and her vision of. I mean, she had many entries to choose from. It was a
I'm
tough job
sure.
for
Oh,
her,
I'm sure.
but she was able to really articulate well her job in terms of what she did and why she selected what she selected, and it was very instructive, very informative.
Yeah, we also do have curators for our open calls, but it's just the memberships that we
Right.
judge. But yeah, I mean, and we're constantly trying to figure out ways of having more open calls, and we've tweaked some of the parameters of them, depending upon, like, for instance, we have something called 9 for 19, which was basically, it was 9 artists were invited to, we would select out of a couple of hundred, 9 artists, and they would have 19 feet of wall for themselves.
That's great.
And what a great opportunity that is.
Yes.
So it's not just one work on a wall amongst 50 others. It's your work among 8 others. And so those are the kinds of opportunities that we've been trying to provide. But our the economics of it is a constant stress, because we do not have an official board outside of our gallery members. We honestly just have never had time to make it happen, because we're always scrambling.
Yes, I know. I was involved in a show that I put together that you guys offered us an opportunity, and
Right.
I assembled 7 artists that showed there in February of this year. And I mean, I get it. I saw how hard you guys worked to support that show. I mean, even
Right.
I was managing it, but bringing it in and doing with the peripheral, hanging and all the other stuff. But you guys did a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, people just don't really understand what it takes to make that happen.
No, I know. It's very difficult, and also when you have to manage other people, given whatever the the event is or the show, there are other people that you have to manage, and so that becomes another task. It's a big task.
Well, it's ego gets in the way, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It does.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I'll tell you something interesting that's happened to us over the last, I would say, maybe the last, because I've been doing this in this role. I've been doing it for probably the last 10 years or so. Similar time frame, I think, like you have.
Right.
And what I found, that the spirit of volunteerism has faded for us. We used to have a lot. We were able to always ask within our membership, like if we were doing something that required, extra pairs of hands, we would call out to our membership and say, can you guys volunteer to help us, receive work or pick up artwork from a show or something. And we used to have many more volunteers. In fact, the organization historically depended on volunteerism. So they had patrons over the years that would supply, through donations, some money to help support, pay the rent, and, a couple of maybe very part-time people in our office. But then everything else that happened relied on volunteers who came in to help.
That's the way we are. I mean, it's strictly, as I said, we have one paid person. The rest is all volunteer.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's incredible that you can still maintain that level of involvement. We've seen it fade for us.
Oh, it's faded, believe me.
Oh, it has?
Oh, yeah. It's faded. I mean, there's just a very core group of people who live in the area. Because we have members who are, throughout the country.
Right.
So we can't expect them to do the volunteering, but the more local people, people have their own lives too. I mean, they've got a lot of stuff going on, and then certainly these last 2 years have not been helpful.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So it is difficult. I think one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you about this is to really sort of compare notes about, our different challenges and how we try to, address them, and also to have an opportunity to, maybe for other people who might stumble upon this, since we're recording it, to just give some insight into what's involved here, because I think there's a lot of misconception, and there is a lot of, like, some fairly aggressive attacks I have seen.
Yes, I would agree with that.
And
And
it's
I
like,
don't understand it.
where is this coming from? Like, it's so unnecessary, and
Right.
in an
Well,
effort.
go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's just clearly they don't understand the dynamic, and how to make that happen
Mhm.
takes a heck of a lot more than what they're giving us.
Exactly, and also to sustain the effort over
Right.
over years. This is
Yeah.
not like it's not like you say, okay, now we're, let's get a group of artists together. We're going to
Let's
find,
put on a show.
like we'll do a pop-up. I mean, I've seen it
Right.
happen, and I've been involved in those. You do a pop-up someplace
Yeah.
for like a weekend.
Right.
You maybe have to clean up the space and, make it spiffy looking. You hang the
Right.
wood, you promote it, organically or whatever, your friends,
Right.
family, and then it comes down, and that's it. Like, there isn't
Right.
a sustained effort to keep the doors open
Exactly.
and to keep people involved and interested. Another reason why I wanted to do this with you is because I'm actually thinking of doing a series of these very informal talks with different
Mhm.
people involved in the art world that I've had interaction with, that actually do things, other than being artists. I mean, that's like our core being, is like, we're
Right.
artists. But many of us do other things within the
Right.
communities that maybe can be helpful to other people, help give them other opportunities, help educate, help, create a sense of community where people come together, for like a core purpose. And so, since, so many people have gotten, and artists also have gotten used to the whole, being online because of COVID, and I don't think that's going away. I think that
Yeah.
the interaction, the discussion, or getting together, if it has to happen, maybe not in person, but in another way, then this is it. So we do this, and that's fine. That's fine with me. It actually gives me opportunity to talk to people who I don't see
Right.
really regularly at all.
Right. Right.
So, it really just is a matter of shedding light on the individuals who are involved in the different community building endeavors and organizations that really help support and the arts, the artists, and keep it as a consistent piece of the community. That takes a lot of work.
Does the Art Society take commission from sales?
It depends on what the show is.
Uh-huh.
It depends on what the show is. Sometimes we do, and sometimes we don't. We don't always take commission.
Yeah.
When the artists have shows in art, we have a gallery.
Right. I know.
Smaller
I'm familiar
gallery,
with
but
that. Yeah.
when we have shows in our gallery, we don't take commission. When we have a bigger show that involves a space that is not ours, we collaborate with the Arts Council that, shares, they have a bigger gallery space, so we
Right.
kind of share the space with them. Then in those venues, we do take a commission, but we split it with the Arts Council.
Uh-huh.
So whenever we have a show that physically encompasses a space other than our own, that belongs to another organization, then, it's really them that says, because they're not charging us rent generally, so they want, if we sell anything, they'll take commission.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We've gone back and forth about the commission
Mhm.
idea, but we have just decided to stay true to the original
Yeah.
uh, plan, and it certainly could have helped to take commission.
Sure.
We have not.
How do your sales go? Like, is there like a sort of pattern that they follow, sales from shows that artists have in the gallery there?
No, it's really and again, because of these last 2 years, I feel there's been a real shift,
Mhm.
and there's been a lot more um, uh, uh, internet kinds of exposure as opposed to come to the gallery and actually see the work.
Mhm.
And so right now, I mean, certainly in New York City, everybody's a little hesitant to gather in large groups still.
Right.
So that changes the temperament
Mhm.
of an opening. I mean, I've had shows, well, in 2017, I had a show that was, you know, awesome. I made, you know, I actually sold a lot of work.
Mhm.
And then the next show wasn't so great. You know, it just kind of ebbs and flows. And other artists, same thing. It really is. It's really a crapshoot in many senses. You know, that people, if they come, they see. They don't necessarily buy.
Right.
They
Right.
love the show. You know, they support you. But you know, it's tough. It's tough. There is no pattern. In other words, the short answer is no, there is no pattern.
Yeah, and then you have, because you're right in Chelsea, so you have, you know, you have many other galleries around you that are
Yes.
more commercial,
Right.
you know, well-established.
Yeah, well, a lot of those well-established galleries have been struggling as well. I mean, the ones on the street, on street level,
Mhm.
a couple have gone out just because the rents now have gone way back up
Mhm.
and the traffic isn't there.
Don't you guys get any consideration because you are a nonprofit regarding
Nope,
rent? No, huh?
nope,
Wow.
no, nothing, nothing.
That makes it very, very tough.
Yeah, and you know, we've explored grants, but then talk about requiring a lot of volunteer time.
Yeah.
I mean, I spent a day down at the Foundation Center pouring through their database, and you know, came up with a whole bunch of possibilities.
Mhm.
But then to coordinate to get someone to help me write the grant,
Mhm. It's
you
hard.
know,
I know. I know. I do it myself, so I know. When there's a grant opportunity, I do all the
yeah,
application, the writing, the proposal,
right.
yeah,
And you know, and you along with thousands of other organizations looking
exactly,
for the same exact thing.
exactly. Yeah.
So it's a challenge, certainly.
Is there, moving forward, like, do you see, um, and because of COVID and like, I guess if we're in post-COVID now, I mean, who knows? But let's say putting the last 2 years behind us, do you see how you might be, can you speculate in terms of how you might be changing things, other than, I mean, you're maintaining your sort of your central purpose of having your members and the shows that you know you have, and then the open calls and so forth. Is there anything else that you feel you're challenged by that you'd like to see change or something?
I mean, it always comes down to, sadly to say, it always comes down to the economics.
Yeah.
And in any way to be able to get funds
Hmm.
to keep the doors open, that's all we're interested in right now, just to
Right.
keep going, because we don't have as long a tradition as you, but you know, First Street has given enormous opportunities to a lot of people over the years.
Hmm.
Quite a few people who have been in our shows have really gotten some really great press and have benefited from being on the walls of First Street.
Right.
So I mean, that gives us great pleasure.
Hmm.
That's what we're there for. I mean, after all, an art show is there to not only enjoy some, you know, interesting work, but it's there to support the artists.
Oh, definitely, and it creates opportunity. It can create
Exactly. I mean,
opportunities.
there's all sorts of
Right.
opportunities that are out there, but again, there's been a real shift in the city. And then, you know, any gallery now that's opening is opening in a much smaller space,
Right.
much smaller. I mean, going down in Tribeca and the East Village, I mean, those places are tiny.
Hmm.
And we're, you know, fortunately, we have this really, as you well know, a very good, ample space that has light and everything else. So, who knows at the end of the day where this all will end, but it seems to be a constant struggle.
Do you think that some of these smaller, these galleries that are have opened up that are in physically smaller spaces, do you think they're relying more on their internet presence to promote and sell art for the artists that they show?
I don't really know.
Okay.
I know that, for instance, First Street, we also have a presence on Artsy.
I know, right.
But other than that, we really don't, because I guess, we're kind of old school. We're more traditional, and we're trying to understand, how do you, even for when members would apply, we would initially say, yes, but we need to see your work in person.
In person, right.
So we would have them bring their work to the gallery so we could actually see it there in front of us. Because there is I think a significant difference.
Absolutely.
In that. And so that's why we're trying to remain true to that. But it's becoming increasingly more difficult. There's a lot of commerce in art going on out there online. There's a lot, but you're to talk about a needle in a haystack when you see all of the art that's out there on all these various platforms. How do you even get seen?
I've often thought of that, actually, and I have many friends who are on Saatchi online,
right?
Arts. Well, you have to be a gallery to be on Artsy. You can't just be an independent artist to be on Artsy. But there's so many different platforms,
right?
Singular or whatever it's called. I have friends who, and they're just like, they keep on upload. If it's a self-service where you don't pay that much, but you have to do your own maintenance of your presence on the platform, uploading new work, your marketing material, and all of that. It really is like just. I find kind of a nightmare to go through everything. Like, it's just so overkill. There's so much to look at. And I've often thought to myself regarding our organization that sometimes, the blue chip galleries do it because they have a name, so Gagosian has his site, and David's, so they have, they're not really, I guess they're on, they're on, are they on Artsy? I don't even know.
I don't know.
But I think they're on other platforms like Saatchi.
Yes,
I've seen them in other series. But they can promote themselves independent of these, conglomerates, because they have that name, they have that presence. And I've often thought to myself, for an organization like ours, and probably even your own, because you guys have your own history, that if there was a way to, promote more independently of those gigantic, amalgamates, I don't even know what to call it, aggregates, they put everybody on there. That maybe kind of like making it more of a singular presence apart from everything else could be a good way of separating oneself.
Yeah, it helps you stand out a little bit.
In fact, on Monday, I'm doing a talk with a woman who's, and she's, this is her training, and she does this for artists and for organizations. We're doing a Zoom talk with her on marketing for artists and branding, and which I hate that word and the whole idea of it. But she's good at what she does, and I thought that she could be helpful in maybe having us understand, the importance of that. And so, because she said to me, well, you have a brand, even as an artist, you have a brand. And I'm thinking, like, my brain goes haywire when I hear.
Yeah. It instantly goes to, commercial.
Yeah. But in fact, another way to look at this, because I'm trying to change my thinking about this. So another way to look at it, and I ran this by her, I said, okay, so let me not associate commercialization of art to the branding idea. Let me think of it in terms of, if if I have a history or a particular history, or this organization has a very particular history, then that becomes, I said, can that be the brand? And she said, absolutely, yes, that can be the brand, So if
Right.
I can live with myself and put it in those terms, then
Right.
that's what I'll do, And it kind of like, it's interesting, even like when I see artists market themselves on social media, like they create these, the ones who are really good at it, who are like you see all the time, they're really good at having constructed a persona, like a look, or they dress a certain way, and they're always,
It's just not my thing.
I know it's not mine either,
Not
but
my thing at all.
I understand that. But in order to stand out or separate,
I understand. Yeah.
but the thing is that I feel like, like a lot of that stuff I think is just crap. I'm sorry. I mean, because it's being done in a way that I think is very non-authentic to the person. It's just to create a facade, that's going to be eye-catching with the music in the background and the little texts that are flashing all over the image. And I'm like, give me a break, like really, what about the work? What about your own history with the work? What are your ideas? What's the nitty-gritty of who you are as an artist? And that there's no time for that, because these things are like in 1 second you're looking at it and you're scrolling on to the next thing. So I feel like there has to be a way to create some attention around artists who don't want to do that, who are not interested in that glamorous flash in the pan, like here I am, for like 2 seconds of every hour of your day, I pop up on your screen. I do feel like there's got to be a way to do this and create more of a presence and attention around people who are just not interested in that, but still feel that they have, the experience, the longevity, the ideas around what they do as artists. I think that that's what's missing, quite frankly. And so anyway, that's my spiel about that.
Yeah. Well, it's, and also it just takes up so much time to do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And tech knowledge and experience and ability that a lot of people simply don't have.
Right.
And so right away it makes me want to run in the opposite direction, just because I'm not good with tech and all of that, and it bores me and it makes me impatient, and I don't have it. It's not in my DNA.
No, it's not in mine either, but I do think, one of the things that I'm thinking about as far as our organization goes is that because we interact with other artists, given the organization, that maybe there's a way to create the attention or the to sort of help promote the artists by engaging with them through technology. So instead of me, because I'm never going to do it, I'm never going to sit here or on my phone and post, like my work ad nauseum, or myself, dressed in a certain way, or
Right.
Here I am at the Met, taking a selfie or whatever
Right.
in the gallery.
Right.
I'm not going to do that. And quite frankly, that none of that interests me. What interests me, though, is other artists' ideas and what they're thinking about, and where they are in their process, and what their plans are moving forward with their work. So maybe that kind of communication, and this is what I'm thinking, like one of the things I'd like to do for us in moving forward, incorporating some of the things that I've learned through COVID, but also kind of moving away from it, is documenting interactions that might be interesting conversations with
Right.
other artists.
Yeah.
That's a way to help the artist.
Yeah, dialogue is important. Even if you take one little piece from it, it's
exactly.
Yeah, you learn something, and maybe it encourages you to experiment. I don't know, but yeah.
But also creates understanding, possibly, for people who actually listen, may be interested in listening to that conversation.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. Yeah.
So we're going to record the thing we're going to do on Monday with Natalie Berlutskaya is her last name. I will record it, for people who can't, because we're promoting it through the Art Society for our members and whoever else might have time. It's at an odd hour. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but that was the only time she had available.
Mhm.
So I said, that's fine, she's okay with me recording it. So I can, if you're interested, I could give you access to the recording and see if there's
Sure.
anything there that might be
Yeah,
helpful to you,
yeah, for sure, for sure.
But because she's really good at what she does, and she works with all kinds of artists, not just with visual artists. She works with
Uh-huh.
dancers and musicians. She's really big on, putting concerts together in the city, with
Oh, that's great.
various musicians. So, what she does, I think, is quite interesting. But
Well, I'd be curious to hear what she has to say.
yeah, and people, she'll leave some room at the end for some Q&A, and then, we'll see how the conversation goes.
Mhm.
But we have our work cut out for us. But
That's for sure.
if there's anything I can do, that you can always ask me if there's anything I can do to help you
Thanks, Anna.
guys.
Thanks.
Let me know, because
I will indeed.
I know
Thank you.
how
Appreciate it.
difficult it is.
Yeah.
I really do. And I'm looking forward to this show that's coming up that Clintel Steed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's this coming month.
Right. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
It's coming at the end of May.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. That should be interesting. I'm very curious to see what he
me too.
what he put together. I know a couple of people whose work got into that show. So,
Oh, great.
curious to see it.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to be as well. Yeah.
All right. So anyway, thanks for your time. I know you're
Well,
busy.
thank you, Anna.
Yeah. And I'm going to go ahead and, stop this recording.
Okay. All right. Well, have a good day, and let's stay in touch.
I will. Thanks a lot. Thanks.
right.
Thank you.
All right.